and today we'll discuss center-state relations. ठीक है? January 6. As I told you, there are three relations between center-state. One is called legislative relations. Relations between center and the state. Second is administrative relations. And third is financial relation, right? ठीक है, पॉलिटी ही पढ़े, आईआर में आप आईआर का क्लास होगा ही. एंड anyway, let me move to the polity part. We are talking about legislative relation. Legislative relations means the law making power between center and state. Now here if you look at, as I told you that, which part? Part 11 and article 245 to 255 are devoted to legislative relations between center and states. Okay? Now, as I told you that in legislative relations, we will break it, right? We will break these relations in different, point. The first point I made that look at the territorial extent of the law made by the parliament and territorial extent of the law made by the state. Okay, so I talked about the union law. The union law is applicable to, right, to all territory, the entire territory of India, and it is also applicable to Indian citizen living abroad. For example, law related to, citizenship, law related to, visa or passport, and so on and so forth. There is one scheme called One Stop Center. Have you heard about this? This scheme, One Stop Center. This scheme is for women who faces violence, any kind of violence, maybe economic violence or maybe psychological violence. Now this is an international program of Government of India. The Government of India's program is also operationalized in other part of the world. Right? So look at the union law or the union policies can be applicable to the entire territory of India or also abroad. Second, I told you that the state law. The state law is applicable in particular state only. For example, if state UP the UP legislature will make law that shall be applicable in UP only. Until or unless there is a nexus between the law and the object. मान लो कोई क्राइम करके यूपी में है, क्राइम किया एंड देन वो भाग गया एमपी. Law shall be applicable to that person whether वो एमपी में रहे चाहे वो नेपाल भाग जाए. Right? ठीक है? So I had given you example. Now second we had already discussed now this. Second we discussed, right, the distribution of legislative subject. Distribution of list. अब सवाल है कि okay, the union government will make law, the state government will make law, but on what subject? Now in order to clarify this question, there is a distribution of list. एंड आर्टिकल यहां पर क्या कौन सा आएगा 246 एंड 7 शेड्यूल. Now, if you look at Article 246 and 7 schedule, also distribute list in three parts. One is called union list. One is called union list. Now, it has how many items? Approximately 100 items. Approximately 100 subjects on which the union government has power to make law. Exclusive power to make law. Right. कहीं पर आपको 97 दिख जाएगा या एग्जाम में कहीं पर आपको 98 हो जाएगा सम हैज बीन इन राइट कहीं पर आपको 100 दिख जाएगा कोई बात नहीं हाँ हाँ कहीं पर 98 हो मैंने कहा क्या कहीं 97 दिख जाएगा कहीं पर 98 कहीं पे 100 आप साइड कर रही है बेसिकली ठीक है 100 भी ठीक है 100 तक बहुत जगह 100 दिखता है राइट तो कहीं पे मैं 98 लिखता था तो स्टूडेंट बोलते सर 100 चला गया है दैट्स फाइन अप्रोक्सीमेटली 100 मैंने बोला है on which who can make the law? The union government make law. It has exclusive power to make law. Now, what are the items in the union list? I told you to check it. Did you do that? Here, right? National important things are part of the union list, like foreign policy, currency, right? Okay. Now, second is called state list, right? Now, it has how many items? 61 items. Earlier, there was a 66 items, right? So on this 61 items, the state legislature has exclusive power to make law, right? And these all are state level issues like law and order, police, liquor, right? Now third is called concurrent list. Now concurrent list, it has how many items it has? It has 52 items. And earlier it had 47 items. Now you can see 5 items earlier here, reduced and here it is increased. 61 items today we have in a state list, but earlier it was 66 items. In current list, today we have 52 items, earlier we had 47 items. Now look at the transfer of the items that took place due to the 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act. Right? The 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act transferred 5 items from the state list to the concurrent list, and on concurrent list, both the state government as well as the center will make law. But whenever there will be controversy, right, then central law shall prevail. The union law shall prevail. Whenever there will be overlapping, then the union law shall prevail. Got the idea? Now look at the 5 items which has been transferred from the concurrent list to the state list to the concurrent list. What are those items? Now look at the 42nd CAA, transferred 5 items. Okay, what are they? One is education. Earlier, education was a part of state list. Now it is a part of concurrent list. Second is forest. Third is weight and measures. Weight and measures. Fourth is protection of wild animal and birds. Birds. Okay? And fifth is administration of justice. Administration of justice, including, continue, including constitution and organization of all courts. Administration of justice, including organization, constitution and organization of all courts except high court and supreme court. ये मुझे बताइए, मैंने लिखवा कहां तक दिया था? यहां तक लिखवा दिया था क्या? कहां तक क्या किया था? अच्छा, वही वहीं से हमें शुरू करना है जहां से हमने छोड़ा था, ताकि लिंक बने. तो हैंग ऑन, हमने कहां छोड़ा था? यहां पर लिस्ट टू. यहां पर हमने क्या किया था? It has 61 items, earlier 66, right? वहीं तक इसे आगे लिखना है, right? So लिखिए स्टेट लिस्ट. It has 61 items, लिख लिया. It has 61 items, earlier 66 items, right? State level issues are the part of the state list, like police, law and order. The state level issues are part of state list, like police, law and order, liquor. Local government, agriculture, public health and sanitation. Public health and sanitation. Theater. Theater, gambling. You know gambling? Yeah, gambling. Theater, gambling, and so on. These are the part of the state list. These are the part of a state list. Now, third, you write the concurrent list. I hope now you can connect. Yeah. Third, you write concurrent list. It has 52 items. It has 52 items. Bracket, earlier 47. Bracket, earlier 47. Okay, subjects like criminal law and procedures. Subjects like criminal law and procedures. Marriage and divorce. Marriage and divorce. Population control and family planning. Population control and family planning. Labor welfare. Labor welfare. Drugs. Newspapers. Printing press. Books. And so on. That is a concurrent list. One more point you add, like on concurrent list, both the center and the state have power to make law. On concurrent list, both the center and the state. On concurrent list, both the center and the state have power to make law. But whenever there is overlapping between the central law and the state law, but whenever there is overlapping, between the central law and the state law, comma, the central law shall prevail. The central law shall prevail. So look at done. Now have you noted down this five? Now right, the 40s, the 42nd CAA transferred five items from the state list to concurrent list. Now right, education, forest, wetland measures, protection of wild animals and birds, and administration of justice, constitution, including constitution and organization of all courts except the Supreme Court and the High Court. Constitution and administration of all courts. कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन का मतलब है बनाना यहाँ पर कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन एंड एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन ऑफ ऑल कोर्ट्स except the Supreme Court and the High Court. Look at about Supreme Court and High Court. It was in the Union list. A state list included administration of justice, including constitution and administration of all courts except High Court and Supreme Court. So it was talking about subordinate judiciary. Now subordinate judiciary is under the concurrent list. Got the idea? Right? Now third component is how Parliament can make law on any item enumerated in state list. Yeah, Taslim, लिखिए. The 42nd CA transferred five items from state list to concurrent list. Education, forest, wetland measures, protection of wild animal and birds, administration of justice including constitution and administration of all courts, constitution and administration of all courts except the Supreme Court and High Court. Once done, let me know. Taslim. Now, as I told you that in the union list, the Parliament can make law, right? The Parliament has exclusive power to make law on any items enumerated in the union list. Okay? Now, the state has exclusive power. The state legislature has exclusive power, on any items enumerated in the state list. Okay? And regarding concurrent list, both have power to make law. Right? But if you look at Parliament has given power to make law on any items enumerated in state list in different condition. State cannot make law on enumerated in the union list, but the opposite is true. The Parliament can make law on any items enumerated in the state legislature, but in different condition. We have to talk about what is that condition, right? So here I'll talk about the Parliament power to make law on a state list. Okay? Parliament's authority to make law on a state list. What are the conditions within which the parliament can make law on a state list. There are several conditions. It's not that only one. There are several, occasions within which the parliament can make law enumerated in the state list. First, let me tell you, the first, अभी लिखना नहीं है. When the Rajya Sabha passes a special resolution under Article 249. If you look at Rajya Sabha, right, can pass a special resolution under Article 249 and empower the parliament to make law from the state list in order to serve national interest. ये हमेशा याद रखना है. The national interest is very important. So Rajya Sabha can pass a special resolution under Article 249 to empower the parliament to make law enumerated on any items in the state list in order to serve national interest. In order to serve national interest. अच्छा, इसका एग्जाम्पल क्या है? एग्जाम्पल है, look at the GST, right? The Rajya Sabha has empowered the parliament. Otherwise पहले क्या था कि स्टेट लिस्ट के स्टेट में अपना कुछ आइटम था on which state can levy the tax, and otherwise the union, the taxable item था वो दो ही जगह था, चाहे स्टेट लिस्ट में था चाहे यूनियन लिस्ट में था. And union government used to levy the tax, collect the tax, right, accordingly, and the state government used to levy and collect the tax accordingly, right? There was no shareable, there's no share. But now if you look at GST is in the concurrent list, right? GST is in concurrent list, ठीक है. But concurrent list का तो फिर item बढ़ जाना चाहिए concurrent में तो, right? Anyway, now so if you look at, this is a one way to parliament can make law on a state list. Second, if you look at, what is the second way? Now look at during the national emergency. National emergency under Article 352. Whenever there is a national emergency, right, then the parliament has authority to make law on all the items enumerated in the state list. During the national emergency, right, national emergency, implemented under Article 352, okay, and Article 252 gives power, 250, not 252, 250 gives power to the parliament to make law on any items mentioned in the state list during the national emergency. So this is the second situation. कब? National emergency के time पे, right? Parliament has authority to make law on state list. This is the second situation, second condition. Now third condition, when a state is experiencing, state emergency, the president rule under Article 356. That is called presidential emergency ना, और it is also called state emergency, और गवर्नर्स रूल भी कहते हैं इसको, ठीक है. अभी तक इंडिया में 125 टाइम्स लग चुका है, ठीक है, 125-26 if you count the Manipur, the current Manipur. अच्छा, which state has experienced highest time of term of president rule? Manipur.
Punjab.
Manipur 11 times. Manipur, right? Not Punjab. So whenever there is a president role under Article 256 in any states, then in that condition Parliament has authority to make law on a state list, right? Only for that state where president rule is implemented. ठीक है? Fine. Now second is, fourth is, now if you look at if two or more states request the central government to make law on any items enumerated in the state list, in that condition Parliament can make law on that subjects, and that law shall be implemented on that only two states. समझ में आ रहा है कि मान लो कि कल यूपी और एमपी ने रिक्वेस्ट किया कि भाई पार्लियामेंट को एक कानून बना दीजिए, किसके ऊपर? लिकर के ऊपर. लिकर इज स्टेट सब्जेक्ट. Now the parliament can make law, right? But that law on liquor shall be implemented in the UP and MP. That will not be implemented on Bihar or other states. But consider when this law is, under operation in UP and MP, third state has requested the parliament do the same, right, on the same item, then this law can be extended to the other states also. समझ में आ रहा है? एक स्टेट नहीं कर सकता रिक्वेस्ट. Two or more state must, request the central government to make law on any item or particular item of the state list. समझ में आया? कम से कम दो स्टेट चाहिए, राइट? हो सकता है तीसरा आ जाए, चौथा आ जाए, पांचवा आ जाए, छठा आ जाए. There is no maximum number limit, right? But at least two states or more must request the central government to make law enumerated in the state list. In such condition, the parliament can make law. If you look at the president rule, which has been used by all the political party, right? But in recent decade, after 90, if you look at, there is a restrictions on president rule, and Supreme Court has played a very important role in restricting the central government not to implement the governor's rule, right? आप देखेंगे कि बीपी सिंघल का जो जजमेंट आया है 2016 में, उसमें यहां तक कह दिया है कोर्ट ने कि इफ द सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट impose article 356 under the modified intention, right, without any reason, then the court can reconstitute the state government. Look at, so the Supreme Court has basically restricted the power of the central government. Otherwise, if you look at the implementation, of course, right, as I told you that Indian Constitution is biased towards the center. Indian Constitution जब भी बना, तो basically what was the intention behind the making of India's Constitution? Unity and integrity. Unity was one of the ideology in Indian polity that actually originated in the Constituent Assembly, and still it is prevails. The unity, हम लोग एक साथ रहेंगे. We can't allow anyone to secede, right? And this is why Indian Constitution does not mention even the word federalism. Call India as a union of states, right? Now, if you talk about Taslim, अगर मैं कितने बार मैंने बताया 126 times governors rules have been imposed, right? इसका आधा कर दो कितना होगा? 63 around 60 times president rule was imposed by Indira Gandhi alone, right? Of course, Indira Gandhi was also authoritarian, of course, right? In that sense, you are right. It reflects the authoritarian tendency of the union government. Anyway, we'll discuss governor office separately. What I was talking about, parliament's power. Yeah. फोर्थ में मैंने क्या बोला? अच्छा, two or more states. Okay, UP and MP plus, for example, right? Two or more state plus, request the central government to make law. Then central government can make law on any items enumerated in the state list. Now, fifth is the parliament can make law on any items enumerated in the state list in order to implement international agreement. Right? The central government, the parliament can make law on any items enumerated in this state list in order to implement international agreement. Let me give you the example. The Rights of the Person with Disability Act 2016. The Rights of the Persons with Disability Act 2016. Let me tell you, the United Nations asked its member to pass a resolution or pass a law in order to protect differently abled person, right? And then the Union government passed the law. ठीक है? ठीक है? So this is something how parliaments have authority to make law on any items enumerated in the state list. So there are 5 conditions. ठीक है? There are another, उसको मैं अलग से लिखवाऊंगा कि if you look at sometimes, इसलिए अलग से लिखवाऊंगा, it is not authority, it is a control. So if you look at parliaments or union government has control over the state law. Why? If you look at whenever a state legislature passes a law, right, it goes to the governor. It goes to the governor for signature, and if the governor give assent, right, then that bill becomes a law. But you know that governor has a special power under Article 201. The governor can reserve the bill for the consideration of the president. Right? Now, अब president के पास भेज दिया. Now it is a central government who will whether allow or not allow to make the law. So first you write 5 point. Okay. Normal condition, in normal condition, the parliament makes law. The parliament makes law on union list and concurrent list. In normal condition, the parliament makes law on union list and concurrent list, whereas the state government makes law, whereas the state government makes law on a state list and concurrent list. The state government makes law on a state list and concurrent list. But in exceptional time, the parliament has authority to make law on a state list. The parliament has authority to make law on a state list. The parliament has authority to make law on a state list. There are such 5 exceptions. There are 5 such exceptions. First, A, when the Rajya Sabha passes a resolution under Article 249. When the Rajya Sabha passes a resolution under Article 249. अच्छा, यहाँ पर स्पेशल मेजॉरिटी लगती है ना, राइट? जब मैंने आपको स्पेशल मेजॉरिटी पढ़ाया था, कौन सा स्पेशल मेजॉरिटी लगता था यहाँ पर? What is special majority? It's apply 2/3, yeah, 2/3 members present and voting. इसमें जरा लिखिए तो, when the Rajya Sabha passes when the Rajya Sabha passes a resolution with a special majority, when a Rajya Sabha passes a resolution with a special majority, then the parliament can make law on any item. Then the parliament can make law on 80 items enumerated in the state list. Then the parliament can make law on any item enumerated in the state list in order to serve the national interest. In order to serve the national interest. समझ में आया? राइट? नेशनल इंटरेस्ट बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है यहाँ पर. नेशनल इंटरेस्ट को सर्व करने के लिए राज्यसभा क्या करेगी? राज्यसभा विल पास अ स्पेशल रेजोल्यूशन एंड इट विल एम्पावर द पार्लियामेंट. नाउ अब पार्लियामेंट कानून बना सकता है. अच्छा, ये मामला है स्टेट लिस्ट का. एज आई टोल्ड यू दैट राज्यसभा इज अ फेडरल चैम्बर. राज्यसभा में जो मेंबर होते हैं वो कहां से चुन के आते हैं? स्टेट से चुन के आते हैं. राज्यसभा मेंबर्स रिप्रेजेंट्स द इंटरेस्ट ऑफ द स्टेट. सो स्टेट ने कहा है स्टेट को, द स्टेट हैज टोल्ड the state has told to the parliament to make law on the state list. So Rajya Sabha is a basically representation of the state. What idea? Now second you write, during national emergency. During national emergency. During national emergency. Okay. During national emergency, the parliament acquires power. During national emergency, the parliament acquires power to make law enumerated in a state list. During national emergency, the parliament acquires power to make law enumerated in the state list. Such law becomes inoperative. Such law becomes inoperative on the expiration of 6 months. Such law becomes inoperative on the expiration of 6 months after the emergency ceases to operate. Did you get the idea? क्या मतलब है यहाँ पर? नेशनल इमरजेंसी पे कानून कौन बनाएगा? पार्लियामेंट बनाएगी. ठीक है. और ये इंप्लीमेंट कब तक रहेगी? जब तक वो नेशनल इमरजेंसी खत्म हो गया उसके 6 महीने तक. क्या इस 6 महीने में स्टेट उस पे कानून बना सकता है क्या? इंपॉर्टेंट क्वेश्चन दैट यू नीड टू थिंक. मान लीजिए पार्लियामेंट ने कानून बना दिया एग्रीकल्चर पे या लॉ एंड ऑर्डर पे. ना वो लॉ एंड ऑर्डर इमरजेंसी के टाइम पे इंप्लीमेंट तो होगी ही होगी, राइट? The parliament has made the law on law and order. That law shall be enforced within emergency period, but it will end after the 6 months of the expiration of the emergency, when emergency ceases to operate. Now, question is, can a state make law during such period on similar item? No, no, after emergency. Consider एग्जाम्पल नहीं समझा कि मान लो कि पार्लियामेंट ने लॉ बना दिया राइट ड्यूरिंग नेशनल इमरजेंसी राइट और नेशनल इमरजेंसी खत्म हो गई तो मैंने क्या कहा कि ये 6 महीने तक रहेगा जब नेशनल इमरजेंसी खत्म हो गया उसके 6 महीने बाद तक ये ऑपरेशन में रहेगा इट विल बी इन ऑपरेशन आफ्टर द 6 मंथ ऑफ द एक्सपायरेशन ऑफ द नेशनल इमरजेंसी 6 महीने तो नॉर्मल टाइम हो गया ये नॉर्मल टाइम हो गया ना पार्लियामेंट अपना कानून बनाएगी स्टेट गवर्नमेंट विल मेक लॉ द क्वेश्चन इज can state government make law on such item which right which is there is a already law made by the parliament during national emergency but national emergency खत्म हो गया है 6 महीना खत्म भी नहीं हुआ है can state government can make law answer is yes but answer is yes but that law should not overlap with the law made by the parliament if such is the case, then parliamentary law shall prevail. Making sense? Making sense? On right in such case, the parliamentary law shall prevail. इस बात को लिख लीजिए जरा. This is a very minute detail. देखिए, the above provision does not restrict. The above provision does not restrict. The above provision does not restrict the state to make law on similar item. The above provision does not restrict the state to make law on similar item. However, if the law overlaps, then central law shall prevail. Then central law shall prevail. 6 महीने के बाद हट जाएगा 6 महीने के दौरान मैं बताया कि 6 महीने अभी पार्लियामेंट ने कानून बना दिया है और इमरजेंसी खत्म हो गई 6 महीने तक ये कानून रहेगी ना राइट अब मान लीजिए कि असेंबली ने लॉ बनाया अब 6 महीने के अंदर अगर ओवरलैप होगा तो सेंट्रल लॉ विल प्रिवेल राइट 6 महीने के बाद स्टेट लॉ शैल बी जब ये खत्म हो जाएगा तब but within 6 months the state government can make law on the similar item right ठीक है the state that will be implemented but if there is a overlapping between the central law and the state law then central law shall prevail समझ में आया can you give the example of such law there is no such example this is a constitutional provision right example is not coming to my mind as of now Sanskriti this is a constitutional provision under article 250 ये जो मैंने बताया this is article 250 right which says that the central government can make law on अच्छा ये है नेशनल इमरजेंसी के लिए ये है पावर देता है पार्लियामेंट को समझ में आया कंफ्यूज नहीं होना है The Article 250 empowers the central government to make law when national emergency is in operation. Okay. Now let me talk about the third. Okay. During state emergency. During a state's emergency. During a state's emergency. When the present rule is imposed in a state, when the present rule is imposed in a state, comma, the parliament authorized to make law on any matter, then the parliament authorized to make law on any matter enumerated in the state list Parliament is authorized to make law on any matters enumerated in the state list for that state. For that state. ठीक है, अब क्वेश्चन यहां पर है कि मान लो कि प्रेसिडेंट रूल खत्म हो गया. Now, when president rule is ended, now question is, will the law made by the parliament will continue? The answer is no. The answer is no. Such law shall cease to operate with the abolition of the president rule. देख लीजिए, such law can be repealed or altered by the state legislature. Such law can be repealed or altered by the state legislature when the president rule ceases to operate. When the president rule ceases to operate. समझ में आया? तो अपने आप नहीं खत्म होगा, क्या होगा? The state government can reframe the law. वो फिर खत्म हो जाएगा. Right? Now, next you write, when two or more states pass resolution requesting the parliament, when two or more states pass resolution requesting the parliament to make law, when two or more states requesting the parliament to make law on any matter in the state list, then the parliament can make law on such item. Then the parliament can make law on such item. समझ में आया? राइट, मैंने आपको पहले समझा दिया है कि मान लो यूपी और एमपी और कोई और मिल जाए, रिक्वेस्ट द पार्लियामेंट कि भाई पार्लियामेंट यू मेक द लॉ ऑन सम आइटम. नाउ देन पार्लियामेंट कैन मेक लॉ ऑन दैट आइटम. ठीक है. नाउ क्वेश्चन इज कि मान लो, सवाल यहां पर फिर से होता है कि पार्लियामेंट ने लॉ बना दिया. ठीक है. नाउ विल दैट लॉ बी implemented in all states? No. This law shall be implemented on those states who have requested the parliament to make law. ठीक है. तब ऐसा होगा, अदरवाइज नहीं. क्या मान लो यूपी और एमपी both have requested, can UP and MP amend such law? Let me tell you, cannot. The parliament ने लॉ बना दिया, then parliament has authority to amend it, such law. समझ में आया? ठीक है. अब इसको विड्रॉ कब होगा? राइट. ठीक है. अब क्या है कि विड्रॉ कब होगा? ये लॉ मान लो पार्लियामेंट ने बना दिया, राइट. Now, how it can be withdrew. Now look at the state government has passed the resolution. Okay? The state government has passed the resolution and then law shall be withdrew. Now there is a many law, Prize Competition Act आया था 1955 में, Wildlife Act आया था 1972 में. There are many example of it. See, when the two states request the parliament to make law, then parliament is authorized to amend the law. ठीक है. अब क्वेश्चन है कि ये लॉ कब ये मान लो कि कल को फिर पार्लियामेंट ये स्टेट चाहेगा कि नहीं मैं खुद ही कानून बनाऊंगा. नाउ या यूपी इसमें से अलग होना चाहता है. मान लीजिए अभी रिक्वेस्ट किया पांच स्टेट ने, अब एक स्टेट है कि उसमें अलग होना चाहता है. दैट स्टेट मस्ट पास अ रेजोल्यूशन विद इन द राइट एंड रिक्वेस्ट द पार्लियामेंट टू गिव द रिटर्न बैक द पावर. देन सच लॉ शैल बी इनऑपरेटिव. प्रियांश.
ओके सर.
तस्लीम ने पूछा है सर व्हाट इफ स्टेट वांट्स टू मेक लॉ बाय इटसेल्फ ऑन व्हाट सब्जेक्ट इन द फ्यूचर. वही तस्लीम का भी सेम क्वेश्चन है. राइट, स्टेट कैन विथड्रॉ इट. स्टेट कैन विथड्रॉ इट बट स्टेट हैज टू पास अ रेजोल्यूशन. ठीक है. फिफ्थ लास्ट वन राइट लिखिए. To implement international agreement, all right, to implement international agreement, to implement international agreement, the parliament can make law. To implement international agreement, the parliament can make law on any item enumerated in the state list. To implement international agreement, the parliament can make law on any item enumerated in the state list. For example, Rights of the Person with Disability Act 2016. For example, Rights of Persons with Disability Act 2016. We have 4 minutes. Let me control. खत्म मतलब let me finish it. एक और है. मैंने फोर्थ कहा, ये थर्ड था, फोर्थ है. The unions control over a state list, and that is Article 201, the most controversial article in Indian Constitution, one of the most controversial articles. As I told you that, if you see, we have 6 legislature which are bicameral. Most are unicameral. Whenever a state legislature passes a bill, it goes to the governor, right? And under Article 201, the governor can reserve the bill for consideration of the president. Now look at this is the way how the union government controls the state government. Got the idea? लिख लीजिए. देखिए अंडर आर्टिकल 201 4 मिनट है इसलिए मैं थोड़ा सा जल्दी कर रहा हूं. 2 मिनट है हमारे पास. अंडर आर्टिकल 201 the governor has authority. The governor has authority. The governor has authority to reserve the bill passed by the state legislature. The governor has authority to reserve the bill passed by the state legislature for the consideration of the president. for the consideration of the president. For the consideration of the president. Okay. In this way, the union government has control over. In this way, the union government has control over the law, the state law, state control over the state law. Okay, for example, Tamil Nadu governor has reserved bill. For example, Tamil Nadu governor had reserved the bill for presidential consideration. Okay, अब 1 मिनट में हमारे पास बाकी है. Finish the today's agenda. Now tomorrow I'll talk about administrative relations. I'll talk about interested council. I'll talk about zonal council. ठीक है? थोड़ा सा. Let
सर
financial relation. बोलो. Priyansh.
सर वो टेस्ट जो है वो ऑनलाइन पोर्टल पे मिला नहीं है.
टेस्ट.
यस सर.
अच्छा, आप मुझे तो ईमेल करिए ना, मैं आपको भेज दूंगा. मैं ये कर सकता हूँ अपने तरफ से. अदरवाइज उनको फोन करिए कि भाई, आई थिंक बहुत लोगों ने टेस्ट दिया है. उनको पोर्टल पे मिला होगा तभी दिया है. अच्छा, सब्जेक्टिव टेस्ट इज नॉट अपलोडेड. लेट मी चेक. आप लोगों ने भी नहीं दिया? अरे बाबा, let me see today. Right? हाँ, आर्टिकल कौन डिजर्व कर सकता है? वहां पर क्या है, गवर्नर के पास वीटो पावर है. यहाँ पर 2020 में भी कर सकता है, राइट. और 201 में सीधा किसके पास भेजता है? प्रेसिडेंट के पास. प्रेसिडेंट इज अ सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट. इसलिए यहां पर लिखा क्या मैंने? द यूनियंस कंट्रोल ऑन द स्टेट लिस्ट. ऑफ कोर्स अंडर 201 union has also controlling the state law. That's right. ये सीधा गवर्नर के पास जाता है. गवर्नर उसके पास साइन करे ना करे, रिटर्न कर दे, एब्सोल्यूट वीटो यूज करे, पॉकेट वीटो यूज करे, राइट. बट वो स्टेट तक रहता है, सेंटर तक नहीं जाता. 201 में ये कहां पर चला जाता है? सेंटर तक चला जाता है, प्रेसिडेंट के पास चला जाता है. ठीक है, चलो. सो आई विल रेज द your query and see you tomorrow.